Hi, it's Nikolas-Losada, and today's video is going to be about the E36 M3. In one of my previous videos, we touched on it, on the video about the history of the M3. One of my favorite videos. I really like the thumbnail on that one. I touched on it. But today's video is going to be focused solely on the E36. Now, the E36 isn't actually my favorite of the M3s, and the reason I am doing the E36 and not the E46 or the E30 or any of the other models is because my brother used to have an Estral Blue E36 M3 convertible. So it hits a little closer to heart, and I know how the car drives, how the car feels, and it makes it a lot easier for me to be able to talk about it today. So, a couple little facts. You have your classic inline-six from BMW. I'm not sure on the exact engine model, but I do know it produces around 300 horsepower-ish and around 300 foot-pounds of torque. So honestly, similar to my last video about the 2 Series, similar to the N55 of today. Though the N55 is turbocharged, the power delivery is a little more quick and peppy, but that's not to be put down the engine that's in the E36. Now, a little factoid is that the E36 actually has two engine variants, the European and the American. So the European and American engines are actually tuned differently in the way that the American version is tuned to have more torque than horsepower. This is because due to American trends, we like cars that are a little more torquey and have more pep to it, so it definitely goes. Now, it revs very high. It revs all the way up to 7,000 RPM, so it sounds absolutely amazing when you give it gas. That's what makes the car so exhilarating to drive. The one I drove wasn't a manual, unfortunately. It was an automatic, but that didn't take away from the driving experience. It still drove very well. It rode well. It turned great. The cornering capabilities of that car were delightful because of how small it was, but it was still a BMW, so of course it did well. You see newer M3s are very large, so they're not going to have the same cornering capabilities as the car like the E36. Honestly, the E36 was very small. Back seats were small, but the trunk was adequate. It's similar size to the first generation 2 Series, the F22 and F23. That being said, great car. Now, the interior was also a staple because it was one of the last BMW interiors that was different. And by that I mean after the E36, or you're coming to the E46 and the 2000s, you may notice that BMW interiors actually started to all kind of look the same. Only in the last year or two have BMWs changed, but you saw the same kind of interior shapes in my M235 or the E46. It's two vents, your climate and radio controls below it, and your shifter and your cup holders, and now your screens are usually above the two vents. But the E36 was different because it was the mid-range. Before that, all interiors looked the same on the 3 Series, 6 Series, and the 70s and 80s. But then in the 90s, the 5 Series, the 3 Series, the 7 Series, they all had different interiors that made them each a little bit more unique. And the E36 definitely had a very cockpit-oriented interior, which made it very easy to touch, and obviously it's a BMW, so there were high-quality materials adorned throughout the interior. Overall, the E36 M3 is one of my favorites, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's looking for it. They're easy to work on and a great car. Thank you.